Good morning and welcome to the fifth lesson for making your Hedgehog Conservation Game in Scratch. Today we'll be adding some exciting things, some dangers for our hedgehog. We'll be adding the badger that you'll have seen in the full game, but you'll be designing your own badger. And we're also going to add a deep hole that the hedgehog might fall into. So it'll be making our game a bit more exciting for everyone who plays it. If you've any problems, remember there's the live Q&A session at 10:30, and also you can use our website earthgames.uk and click on the Ask an Expert link. So any problems, do get in touch. Let's go to Scratch and see what we've got to do there. As always, we need to go to scratch.mit.edu and find our stuff once we've logged in. Here's my game, Hedgehog Fun. There we go. We're going to start with something really simple, just adding the deep hole. I need you to go to the bottom right hand corner and hover over the choose a sprite icon, but click on paint. So you've done this before, you'll find it really easy now. We're just going to create something like the pond, but black. Down here we need to name it, so let's call it Deep Hole. And you can also call the costume Deep Hole as well if you want. There we go. Now, it's really simple. We just need to draw a circle, but we want it black. And let's change this to black. I think that looks good. And draw a circle. And there we go. Remember, you've got the undo button here and an eraser. So if you don't like it, just change it and draw it again. It looks huge, so let's change the size down here. I'm going to try 15. How does that look? A bit small, I think. I'm going to go for 20. Okay. I don't want it to be too much of a hazard for my hedgehog. I think I'll put it down here. There we go. Now let's add some code to that. So at the top left, click on the code tab. We need to make sure we're adding code to the deep hole. So you should see the deep hole here. And if we scroll down, you'll see the deep hole sprite in blue there. So we know we're doing it in the deep hole. As always, go to the events category, get a when flag clicked block. From the control category, get a forever loop, and then inside that we need an if loop. There we go. You probably remember how to do that. We're doing it so much. We want to check if the hedgehog is touching the deep hole. We need one from the sensing category now. This one, touching mouse pointer, which we know because we've used it lots. You can click the drop down and you can touch lots of other things. So we need touching hedgehog. So if the deep hole is touching the hedgehog, then we want to say something, don't we? So go to looks, get this say hello block and change it to something else, something about deep holes. So I'm going to say deep holes kill hedgehogs. And I'm going to add another say block and say sorry you died. There we go. Now to stop the game, we need to add the stop all block. That's in the control category down towards the bottom. There we go, stop all. There we go. Let's try that out. Click the green flag and then take your hedgehog over to the deep hole. Oh, can you see it's working? It's saying, sorry you died, and the game has stopped. But the hedgehog is behind the deep hole, so that looks a bit odd, doesn't it? We need from the looks category, it's got this thing about layers, so we need to send this to the back layer. Here it says go to front layer. Grab that one and put it at the top here, but change it to back layer. So let's try that again. Let's go over to, that was because we started on the deep hole. Let's try again. Yeah, that looks better, doesn't it? Okay. That works perfectly. Now we're going to add another predator, another problem for hedgehogs, which is badgers. So badgers are quite big and strong, so they can damage hedgehogs, can hurt them, but also they eat the things that hedgehogs eat too, so they'll eat the beetles and the worms, so the hedgehog can't have them. We're going to design our own badger. If I show you here, we've got some pictures. These are ones that other people have drawn in Scratch, and that's what they look in real life. We need the picture to be from the top, from above, so bear these two in mind when you're drawing yours. Like we did before, we need to go down to the bottom corner, hover over this choose a sprite icon and click paint. And there we go. Now we're going to name it like we've done before, Badger, and name it here as well, Badger, because we are going to add some more costumes for this one. Here we go. Now this is totally up to you. You've got to try and draw a badger, so go for it. Right, I'm happy with my badger there. It looks very big at the moment, but let's change that. Let's try, I don't know, 30 is a bit small. I might go for 40. Yeah, I think that's okay. Now we want to make the badger look like it's moving, as we've done for the hedgehog as well. What we're going to do is right click on the badger that we've made and click duplicate. Now we can make some small changes to this to make it look like it's moving. This pointer one's really good for this because you can click on individual elements of it if it'll let you. On this one it's not letting me move individual elements, no, just the whole thing. So I'm going to have to amend it slightly differently. Let me have a go. We just want to make small changes, just to move the legs a little bit, maybe move the tail a bit, move the head a little bit, so it looks like it's moving. I'm going to have a go at erasing a little bit here and adding a bit more. If we change the size here, that will make the rubber a lot smaller. There we go. See, tiny now. I'm just going to stick with those 3 costumes and see how it goes. Let's go back to the badger then, to the code area. Hopefully your badger looks just as good as mine, if not better. I'm sure you've done an amazing design. Here's our badger code area. I've got a little badger picture up here. First we want to make the badger move. So go to the events category, when flag clicked, control category, forever loop, and an if loop. No, we don't need an if loop, getting carried away there. From the looks category, we then need next costume. So we're going to switch through the costumes. And when we did this before, it happened too quick and it didn't look so good, did it? Let's add a weight block. Where is it? There we go. And change it to, I'm going to go for 0.5 and see how that looks. Well, I think that looks alright. I'd probably like the head to move, so if I had more time, I think I'd play with it a bit there. That looks good. Now we're going to make our badger actually move. Another when flag clicked block would be great here. We want the badger, to move independently, so move by itself. No one's going to control the badger. And the easiest way to do that is go to motion, and we've got move 10 steps. So if we click on that now, it'll disappear off the page. There we go. Let's click and drag it back again. There we go. What we want to happen then is move 10 steps, but if on the edge bounce, like we did before with the beetles. So there we go, in the motion category, if on edge bounce. And we're going to add some other code to slow that down a bit. I'm just going to check the code in here. Remember, these instructions are on the website. So we've designed our badger, we've added costumes, We've done the next costume bit. We've got the move 10 steps. Yep, we want to add the weight and then the turn as well. Let's get the weight one from the control category. And we're going to weight 0.5. You fiddle around with these numbers, find out what you think. Does 10 work? Does not, should the badger be taking more steps or less steps? Have a look at it and play with it yourself. Now we want to add this one, the turn block. We want the badger to turn, and we're going to make that random. Put it in here after all the other blue ones. Now we're going to add some random numbers in here, and that's in the operators category. It does look a bit crazy at the moment, our badger, doesn't it? Let's stop that at the moment. So he's doing 15 degrees. We want this pick random block from the operators category. And I think we leave it at 1 and 10. Let's check. Yep, 1 to 10. So let's try that. Because it was moving 15 before, it looked a bit wild. What do you think then? Is that okay? I think that's all right. Now we want to add the code so that the badger can also eat the beetles and the worms, but that's in the beetles and the worms because the beetles and worms disappear, don't they? Not the badger. Let's look at the worm code. We've got this if loop here, if touching the hedgehog. We need to add another one then. So if it's touching the hedgehog, or after it we can check if it's touching the badger. From the sensing category we need this touching block. There we go, and change it to badger. This is why it's important to name them so you can find them in here. It's just called sprite 3, you'll never find it. If it's touching the badger, we don't want to change the hog health because it's not touching the hedgehog, it's touching the worm in this case. So if it's touching the badger, then we just want it to hide. So from the looks category, we need the hide block. There we go. Let's check that out then. Oh, this is going to be a bit tricky because we can't tell which worm it is. Let's do it for all the worms and then check it out. What we're going to do is actually delete the other worms. So I've changed in here in worm 2, in just worm. So I'm going to delete worm 2 and delete worm 3. And then I'm going to duplicate worm and duplicate the worm again. It looks like they haven't appeared, but if you scroll down, there we go, they're at the bottom there. They've appeared in the middle roughly, so I'm going to try and move them a bit. There we go. Now let's see, do the worms disappear as the badger touches them? I think one did there at the beginning. Let's try and see what happens. Go on, badger. Go and eat the worms. Oh, is it going to touch it? Yes, there we go. It disappeared, didn't it? Right, we need to add the same thing to the beetles. So find the first beetle and we're going to add the code in here. We need another if loop then. There we go. Put it after the first one. I'm just going to right click here and click clean up blocks. It moves those blocks down so I've got some more space. Again, from sensing category we need touching mouse pointer, but we change that to badger. There we go. And from the looks category we need hide. There we go. Okay, click the green flag and we can watch that and see what happens. But remember what we did before, we deleted the other beetles. Let's delete the other two where we haven't added the code. And then this might be tricky for you to see because it's just out the corner here. There's my beetle. Now I want to right click on it and duplicate. And right click on it and duplicate again. And then if I scroll down, there we go. I've got beetle 2 and beetle 3 at the bottom. Lovely. Yep, my beetles seem to be there. Let's click the green flag. Off they go. Hopefully now everything will get eaten by the badger. Let's see the badger going round. But the one thing we haven't done is change stuff for the hedgehog too. Let's have a look at that. I need to check if I add that in the hedgehog or the badger. So I'm going to go back to my code instructions here. So we're adding this in the badger. Okay, That's a good idea because there's lots of code in the hedgehog. Here's my badger. Let's just stop the game for now and scroll down. We're adding another block at the bottom here. So when flag clicked, forever, and then an if loop, like we've done lots of times. And we want to check if the badger is touching the hedgehog. So we need the sensing one too. Touching, there we go. So touching the hedgehog. There we go. So if it's touching the hedgehog, we want to say something. So we could grab this box from the looks category. We want to say, I don't know, something like, I might hurt you, or something like that. I'm going to say that. And then we want to change the hog health. Go to the variables category, and we've got change hog health by. Grab that block and put it inside. We want to change it by 5, but take away 5, so -5. So every time the badger touches the hedgehog, we take away 5 hog health points. What we also need to add is a wait block, because if the badger touches the hedgehog now, the hog health will go down very quickly. From the control category, get this wait 1 second and put that in there. Then the hedgehog's got a chance to get away before the health decreases again. There we go. Now let's see, so if I touch the hedgehog, I might hurt you, and yeah, my health went down, I could see there. Great, so that's working perfectly. Now we're going to add a little extra bit. So we've done all the stuff in here, and if you go to further ideas, we've got this extra bit. One thing you need to check though is that you've added this code in your hedgehog sprite. If you skipped the extra stuff on one of the early lessons, I think lesson 1, then you won't have added this bit. Let me show you in my code. There we go. So it should be these blocks here. If you haven't got it, then go to our website, earthgames.uk, and follow the instructions in here to add it. It's really not very complicated though, so you should be fine. Now we're going to copy this code that we've got and add it to the other sprites. So here's this code. We can use the backpack again, so click on the backpack. I've got some stuff in there, but I'm going to delete that so I don't get confused about what I've got in there. There we go, deleted all that. So the backpack, remember you can use it to copy code. So we want to click and drag this into the backpack. There we go, it's in my backpack. Then we want to add it to the worms. So I'm going to drag it into the worm one. There we go. You could add it to the netting if you want. I think I'm going to leave it where it is because otherwise it might end up on the hog house or something like that. Drag it into the beetle. There we go. And I'm not going to add it to these ones either, but we can add it to the badger. So we're adding it to the beetles, the worms, and the badger. If you want, you can add it to the netting, but it depends on, at the moment we haven't got much room for the netting. It might be fun to add it to the netting when we've got more gardens, which is something we'll be looking at next week. There we go. So if you right click, we can clean up blocks. There we go. And you can see it all in a line now. Let's try that out and see what happens. So click the green flag. So all the beetles, worms and the badger should start in different places. You could add it to the netting, as it says on here. We've got a list, so we've got the worms, beetles and the badger. You can add it to the netting if you want. That's great, that's everything we're going to cover today. Make sure you've saved your game, and before you close Scratch, make sure you go to up here and sign out. Well done. Let me tell you about what we're going to do next week. So next week we're nearing the end. You could stop here if you've had enough and it's getting too tricky for you. That's perfectly fine. Don't worry. The stuff we're going to move on to is more complicated, but it does make a good game. So I hope you can join us. We're going to add some more gardens to our game so that Hedgehog can move into different gardens, which makes it a lot of fun. It's 10 o'clock next week as usual. Hopefully you can join us at 10:30 for the Q&A. Remember, you can also ask questions on our website, and do let us know how you're finding it. We'd love to start seeing your games as well, so if you can share them on Scratch, if your parent or guardian has given permission, then do send us the link. We'd love to see what games you've made. Great, we'll see you next week for the next lesson. Bye!